All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back to our next replay. This is going to be a Kaga replay, and this came through the DevStrike forums. There was someone who was a little frustrated and said they needed some feedback and some help. And so I said, hey, toss me a replay. And here we have it. Kaga is a nice looking ship. Some history about the ship. She was originally going to be a battleship. And then a few different events occurred, mainly the Washington Naval Treaty, and she was allowed to be converted into an aircraft carrier. And you can kind of see that she's a battleship hull. If you back off and look at, and just kind of look at the lines, you can kind of see the lines right there for the battleship hull. And right, the Great Kanto earthquake as well, yes. And then she... along with the Akagi, were both conversions. And the armor, yes, in-game is like a battleship. She's got thicker armor on the sides. And if I zoom in, you can kind of see that right here with the extra torpedo blisters that have been mounted on top of that. She was built at a time when they thought you might still need to have the ability to use guns in a naval engagement. So much like the Lexington and Saratoga for the United States, she is equipped with 8-inch guns. In this game, they're counted as secondaries, though. And then you can kind of see the other side, same deal with that armor. And then they added the hangar. Now, originally, I believe the hangar didn't go all the way this far forward, and then the decision, as planes became larger and faster and stuff, they required, basically, were required to increase the hangar size. And it does give her the second largest secondary package for carriers in the game. That is true. Is it 4-kilometer range? If you get within 4 as a destroyer, it's pretty funny to watch those secondaries go off like crazy. But you can see you got the ship's bell down there. It's kind of cute. And this massive box of a hangar back there. So, I believe that in real life, some of the armor was removed, mostly deck armor. But the thing is that if you think about it, most of the hull is already there, right? You've already welded the material on. So now, obviously, when they decided to convert the ship, they didn't have the turret barbettes in there, for example, and that's a lot of weight there too that they saved on. So that being said, she's kind of fun because it's during the age of experimentation by all nations, not just by the Japanese. So there's a great video on YouTube by another CC, Drakenfell. Many of you guys probably know who he is, and he covers the interwar period, and to me that's one of the best videos he's done because he talks about like the Kaga's original build, the Akagi. Akagi was originally built with 3 decks on her. The idea being that they would launch planes quickly from 3 decks. And then it was decided later to build the whole deck forward because, frankly, they just didn't have enough space to carry enough aircraft. So they needed that. And they also removed a couple of 8-inch turrets up in the front because the determination was that they weren't necessary anymore. So... right, yes, and then of course the shells and the magazines all got removed. So yes, there's definitely some space saving there, but remember that gets replaced with bombs and aviation fuel and torpedoes and all that kind of stuff too. So Armor Repair says, I'm a touch surprised that the treaty applied to ships that already had the keel laid down. I would have thought ships already in construction would have been grandfathered in. Well, the problem with that Armor Repair was if I remember correctly, and this is a better question for Drakenfell, because he would know more than I would on this, but if I remember correctly, the whole point of the Washington Naval Treaty was to get people to stop building stuff. And it was done at a time when the German Navy was building, when the Italian Navy was building, and when the Japanese Navy was building. The Americans had already mostly built up their Navy. The British, same deal. And so what they were trying to do was they were trying to basically curtail a lot of the smaller nations that were starting to grow from building them. Because at the time, in the 1920s, battleships were kind of like, the end-all be-all, the power projectors and stuff like that. All right, anyway, we're going beyond the scope of the replay, so let's get into it. So this is the Kaga. Let me pull up the Kaga. Here we go. And let's take a look at our build viewer for the Kaga. All right, now, characteristics of the Kaga in the game. She's one of the best carriers for learning because of the quick plane regeneration. Most of the time, you're just going to spam torpedo bombers with the occasional swap to maybe rockets or dive bombers. But it's your torpedoes that are bread and butter for hitting cruisers and battleships. You can also use the dive bombers on destroyers with pretty decent accuracy and effect. Rockets are okay, but they're an acquired taste and they take a while to figure out. So that being said, typically in the Kaga, you want to focus mostly on your torpedoes, with a secondary focus, I would say, on your dive bombers. All right, so let's take a look at the build here from, I believe their name is O2. This is a new person, so I apologize for messing that up. So we've got Air Goose Modification 1, Aircraft Engines Modification 1, Attack Aircraft Mod 1, Bomber Modification 1, and Concealment. Okay. Now, some things to think about. Bomber Modification does make sense if you're going to go for a bomber focus. Torpedo bombers, you could do that for torpedo bomber hit points. However, keep in mind that torpedo bombers do have a heal. So if you know when to heal and that sort of thing, then I think it makes perfect sense to buff the hit points on your dive bomber. That's fine. And then finally, you've got Concealment System. I might drop Concealment System and go for Flight Control. Is it necessary in the Kaga? Towards the end of the game, if you get deplaned, it is. Concealment, I suppose, is okay. It does allow you to be a little bit closer to the action, but the problem with Kaga is she's so slow, you have to be careful not to get too close to the action. I really think Flight Control would have been a better pick for you there. And your third slot, you are buffing Rockets. Not much else you could do. You could do the aerial torpedo speed if you want to, although that means you have to drop a little bit farther away from your opponent. Bomber attack time doesn't help much, so yeah, I guess you could go for rockets. You could do secondary memes, but what's the point? 4.5 kilometer standard is just sad. All right, let's move on then, and let's take a look at the commander build. We don't know if it's a special captain or not. And frankly, Yamamoto doesn't really help on carriers. If you somehow get a Kraken on him, it does help with aircraft prep time here. It's really the only thing that you're going to get. I guess First Blood, you get an extra consumable for your squadrons as well. So it doesn't really matter if it's Yamamoto. Now, Suzuki does give you a benefit to Survivability Expert. So that's plus 30 hit points instead of plus 25. An extra 5 hit points for each tier. At tier 8, that's an extra 40 hit points per aircraft. So that's kind of nice. You know, that's kind of sexy. Anyway, your build, you've got air supremacy, sure. Improved engines, sight stabilization, survivability expert, torpedo bomber, and proximity fuse. Okay, I like that you're buffing the torpedo bombers. Like I said, that's your bread and butter for doing damage. I think that makes the most sense. Sight stabilization. I don't know that you really need sight stabilization. It's okay. I would make that later in my pick. I would probably do aircraft armor. I mean, your planes regenerate fast enough, but it's nice to get them back and make sure you don't run out of torpedo bombers. So I might go aircraft armor. And then repair specialist also helps your torpedo bombers quite a bit. Let's see. So that takes me to 20, and then you could do one of the engine boost ones. I'm curious what the captain build for the document here suggests. So let's just go ahead and search for Kaga. And here's the build for the Kaga. Almost spot on what I was just talking about. Note that they do go for the flak reduction at the end here. So They do go for the enhanced aircraft armor. Do they have sight stabilization? They do not. Okay. So it's kind of your choice. Do you want sight stab and something else here, or do you want aircraft armor? But otherwise, yeah. Okay. And then for signals, obviously you can't detonate in a carrier. Fire extinguishing and flood extinguishing in a carrier are helpful, I suppose. You take less damage from both. Less chance of causing flooding, or increased chance of flooding, and then fire chances as well. Okay. Hit point repair for your torpedo bombers makes sense. Ship speed makes sense. Consumables make sense. Anti-air is fine. You're in a carrier game, you know you're going to run into anti-air. Flak reduction is because for carriers with gigantic squadrons, an unfortunate flak puff on the low HP aircraft is always possible via RNG. That is very much true. It's very much true. You can dodge most of it, but I agree. It's still helpful to have. So, all right, let's go ahead and take a look at the replay then and see what we can see. Zenboto, if you're ready to clip, I'm gonna. I actually already took a screenshot, so I think I'll leave it at that. So here, if you listen, not too much droning.
Good luck and fair seas.
But now the droning is much. It's like this constant thing. And remember, we were just talking about the engines before. You could barely hear them on the destroyer, and now you've got this constant buzzing sound in your ear. And it in my opinion, it's just too loud. So Zimboto, if you don't mind, just clip that portion.
Much obliged.
Thank you much.
Awaiting instructions.
Okay, let's take a look at the setup. You are top tier. Congratulations. You're up against Lexington, Magi, Lenin, Bismarck, Sinop, Andrea Doria, Tago, Ochakov, Dallas, Ramat, Kaga, Farragut. You got to watch out for the Dallas. You got to watch out for the Ramat. Even though they're tier 6, their anti-air still stings quite a bit. Everybody else is your food. Now, you started with your dive bombers. Okay. That's fine. You can scout, try to find their destroyer, and drop on it. Oh, look, it's a Farragut. I like the decision to turn. Let's follow your camera now. Here, I would have probably dropped one, pre-drop, and then come back and then dropped on the Farragut. It looks to me, though, like you want to scout the B-cap and see what's over there. So you're trying to provide vision for your team. It's fair. That's fine. Attack aircraft behind you. Drop a fighter. Just drop a fighter. If he drives into it and you get all the plane damage, that's great. You just ruined his attack. And it also provides a little bit of vision if you would have dropped it when I mentioned it. You waited and then you put it on the side there. You'll note that the Lexington didn't do anything about that. So, bad placement of your fighter there. Thank you, Simboto. Now here you're deciding to go for the Lenin with your bombers, and you run into the Dallas. So I don't like this use of bombers here. You would have been far better off just going back to A with the bombers, frankly, and dropped on the Farragut. Also, a bit of a delay in returning your planes. I would return them immediately. Don't watch the bombs drop, because you're chewing up, you're taking anti-air hits while you're doing that. All right, torpedo bombers, go. If I'm launching torpedo bombers, I'm immediately thinking, where am I going with them? You're going to the other side of the map. I disagree. I would have been going for the Andrea Doria right now, up at sea. You're trying to support the hold flank, which I get. but you are taking a lot of time getting your planes to target. That's the problem with doing this. You could have been dropping on the Andrea Doria already, or dropping on the Kagro right now. At the very least, keeping the Kagro spotted. If the Dallas was moving away from the Lenin would have been an okay target. But if he's trying to scout for destroyers first, he or she, if they're trying to scout for destroyers first, I don't understand why not continue to the sea cap. Now, right now, you're flying over a teammate. What are you trying to do for them by flying over them right now? Are you waving? Are you dropping candy on the deck? The point I'm making is you're not providing any spotting for your team whatsoever. If you flew over A, the center of the A cap, that'd be much better. You might catch the Farragut as he tries to move to the B cap. Maybe going for a Tago? I mean, I guess a Tago isn't. I wouldn't prioritize the Atago, right? It's a tier 8 cruiser. Use your heal, by the way. You just took a flak burst. Use your heal. Use your heal. Use your heal. You have to off. When you take a flak burst, flak generally damages every plane. When you heal, each plane heals together simultaneously. You have maximum healage when you heal after taking a flak burst. Here I would use torpedo bombers again. Now you're ignoring the Dallas and you're going for the Lenin. Torpedo bombers would have been better against the Lenin here too, by the way. But I would have used torpedo bombers on the Dallas because he's against the island. He has no maneuverability, perfect for dropping. If you see a fighter being placed on a ship, is there enough time to drop or change target? Or do you change target? It really depends on the way the fighter is orbiting. If you get in and drop and F off immediately, the fighter can't really follow. That was a rushed drop there. You got a little panicked, I think, because you got detected. F off again. You got one plane, doesn't matter. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. F off. You get no bonus for flying the plane back yourself. This is a lot of wasted time right here. There you go. 4 bombers. 4 bombers. 4 bombers. I'm getting the feeling you're not sure what to take. 4 bombers. 4 bombers.
All stations reporting the position
There you
of
go.
strategic target.
That was about 20-30 seconds of wasted time there. Okay. Now, once again, you took some flak there. Heal would be good. Torp bombers again. Feels to me like you are used to playing a different carrier, and you're not playing the Kaga based off of her strengths, which is the torpedo bombers, and the ability to spam them, quite frankly. Keep using those torpedo bombers. Grunty, are you back? Could have started the attack early to avoid that. Yes, that's the other part too, is that the torpedo bombers, you generally want to start your run just outside of flak range. Yeah, it does sound like somebody that's used to American carriers or maybe Germans. That's true. All right, thanks for hanging out, Iron Meals. We'll see you in a bit.
A Kaga, huh?
Yes. Now, we can't see autopilot settings, but I'm guessing you went to map view to tell your autopilot to move you towards the A side. That's probably what I would do. By the way, the whole reason you have to run over to A is because you ignored the C side and you wasted all that time trying to help your team on the other flank. That Andrea Doria is like food for you. You should be killing the Andrea Doria. Pre-drops would definitely save plane losses too, that is true. And a pre-drop, for those of you who don't know what that means, a pre-drop is when you drop your torpedoes, or whatever the attack squadron is. You drop those planes. You just drop once, send them back to the carrier, and you send them back to the carrier so that they're ready later down the road. If you go in with all your planes like right now, and you lose the lion's share of them, eventually you get deplaned. So early in the game, pre-drop is a good idea. What?
You shouldn't need that in this type of matchmaking.
This is also true. But if you look at how this player is playing, they're getting too close before they initiate their drops. They haven't used heal a single bit. And frankly, the targets that this player's picking are targets that are not currently engaged in battle. That's another thing to think about. Okay, you want to focus on targets that are looking at other people. They're engaged in firefights already, because when you do that, they have to split their focus. They either focus on dodging you and your torpedoes, or they focus on dodging incoming hits from somebody else.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I didn't watch the whole thing because I was AFK, obviously, but it seems
Lanes
to
here
me
would be
that the
good.
right side here, that Doria and that Kaga got ignored for way too long, and now your hull is actually in trouble because of it.
That's right.
Also, the enemy CV... Is that the A aura that is displayed here? Yeah, I think it is. Okay, never mind.
Now you found the Doria because he shot at you.
Too early. Or
Are they your
replay bug, I
teams?
don't know.
Chasing somebody who burned DCP with a squadron for a flood or permanent fire is also valuable. Absolutely. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing a lot of changing targets here. And also,
Yeah,
there's a...
ideally you want to focus down one ship at a time in a carrier and not split up your damage.
Like, right now, the Andrea Doria is the perfect target for you to be going after. I wouldn't be approaching it from this side. I'd be approaching it from the other. Because right now, look at the Andrea Doria and look at the battleships. The Andrea Doria, if he turns to dodge your torpedoes, also dodges or negates a lot of enemy, a lot of your team's battleship fire on that Andrea Doria. You want to approach from the other side, so it encourages the Andrea Doria to turn to avoid your torpedoes, and in doing so, gives the Warspite, the Massachusetts, maybe even Lyon, broadside.
Why did we recall here?
That was an earlier drop, but I'm not sure either. Because the thing is, the Andrea Doria is getting close enough to where you really can't afford to waste the time to keep cycling your planes. You have to keep the pressure on.
And you had enough for another attack in it, like... And you switched, like, from your good planes to your mediocre planes.
Right, I mentioned that earlier. The torpedoes are the bread and butter. Always spam torpedoes. And that's why I get the feeling like this is somebody that's not used to carriers, also somebody that's not used to Kaga.
Hello.
What's up, Valkyrie?
Not much
Hi.
yourselves.
Okay, see, that's what you wanted to get the Andrea Doria to do earlier, dropping from the other direction. You want that Andrea Doria to turn broadside to your torpedoes and get smacked by the Massachusetts. Okay, what do you have left now? There's an Ochakov that's very low health. You should 100% go hunt the Ochakov down. Instead, you're going to the middle of the map. Why? Plane up right now. Fighter right up. Too late?
Honestly, I agree you want to kill the Ochakov, but for that I'd actually use a different plane type than the Torps.
Absolutely, but hey, you know, you started with the Torps. Okay, fine.
So yeah, he started with the Torps, so I don't mind not going for the Ochakov with this squad. Okay, now he's going.
Plane
This is
on.
indecisiveness that costs you time.
Yep. Okay, too late on the plane. Or no, that's your because you got spotted. Okay. But if you're flying over a teammate, drop a plane on it. think that drop might have been too late. It could be a replay bug.
Wait, no, even if replay
No,
bug,
it was
that's
too
way
late.
Too late.
The thing is, the
Yeah.
Ognivoy got the kill anyways. All you had to do was provide vision. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. If you would have just gone to sea at the start, Ognivoy would have had that vision earlier, could have gotten the kill earlier. Is that going to matter in this game? No. You guys are going to win, right? You've got all 3 caps. Farragut is low health. Atago is running away. Higher meals, good point. Using consumables could be a title. I like that you guys are already thinking about titles. This is good. Kaga. Our neighbors.
Why are we not attacking that battleship?
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm wondering as
The
well.
Amagi?
Yeah.
I don't know either. That would be absolutely what I would be doing. Now, it looks to me like you're trying to provide vision for your team. Okay. But you're doing this at the expense of your own damage, and frankly, I think you do more for your team by focusing that Amagi right now. And you've decided to do that. But now you've decided to do that, but now you're in the front of the Amagi. You're going to drop now, and the Amagi's just going to lazily turn to the left and dodge
Why aren't
almost
you
everything.
Why aren't you using your heals is my question. The heals
I
on
mentioned
your
that before, too.
planes. Okay.
Yeah, start your torpedo runs earlier. Drop earlier, you're waiting too long. Your torpedoes all just fizzled. They didn't even arm on the Amagi.
Our victory is in sight.
Now you need to be telling your carrier to move closer to the battle. I would move it into A or something.
Yeah, I think trying to move the carrier out of this position with the autopilot is gonna be, the battle's gonna be over before the carrier gets out of there.
Probably, but I'm just simply... This is what I would be doing, right? Like, if the autopilot just sits there, I don't know what to find. But at the point I'm making is, you know, you got to think about when is it time to get your carrier closer to the action so that you're not wasting time flying back and forth so much.
That's the biggest loss of damage for a carrier. The time it takes you to get to the targets.
Right. I mean, now you're looking for the Farragut. Okay. Hobart is saying it's over there. Now you're using your engine boost. I've used that a long time ago, but... Oh, it's a very good replay for people who don't play a lot of carriers. Absolutely. Toggle burns down the Vlad, and you just go straight in. Don't be afraid to dodge flak. So you use the, what is it, the A and the D key to try to turn your planes around. What you need to do is you need to throw off the anti-air gunners. If you just drive in a straight line, you're just going to take all the flak hits.
This last attack tells me that this guy usually, if he plays series, plays American ones.
Mm-hmm.
You could feel how he wanted these bombers to turn while attacking, and they just don't do it.
Right. Okay. Well, there's the game. 73,000 damage. Where do you guys think he or she ends up on the scoreboard?
Middle pack.
Middle of the
I
pack.
didn't
Let's take a
see
look.
how much spotting damage was that.
Yeah.
Bottom third.
Yeah.
Bottom third.
20,000
CB economy
spotting.
is bad. Look, you get not reward much, and you also have to like a lot of that damage, like a third bout that was done to a tier 6 battleship.
Mhm.
Like that's the worst thing XP wise you could attack if you're in a tier 8 carrier.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
it was the right choice. You needed to kill it, but it's not rewarding you with the XP.
Yeah. So the irony is, this player was trying to spot for their team at the start, and a couple of times throughout the game, but only came away with 20,000 spotting damage. Very inefficient at that goal of trying to do the teamwork. Don't be afraid to use those fighters. Don't be afraid to use the consumables, the heal, and really, you have to play to the strengths of the ship, not necessarily the way that you play. You have to kind of adjust accordingly. So in this case, the Kaga, you gotta be using those torpedo bombs.
Yeah, way too much dive bomber usage. Like you only lost 26 torpedo planes, which means you still have like 50 left. I'm
Kaga
exaggerating here,
prints.
but
Yeah, well, Kaga prints planes, right? So
Yeah.
you can sacrifice more.
no,
than
Kaga
other
doesn't actually
carriers.
print them that much. Kaga just has a lot of them.
Okay, but still, like you can sacrifice more, and
Yeah.
also since you have the heal for the ship is well, not the ship, for the airplanes is like.
Personally, I like to use the dive bombers at the start of the game to spot,
Yeah.
because there is they're a bit faster than the top planes if you spec correctly at least, or spec in a certain way at least. So you get the information quicker, and if you run into a group of ships that decimate your planes, it's not that devastating if you lose a couple of dive bombers.
Yep.
Other than that,
So-
you mostly want to use your torpedo bombers, maybe with the exception if you want to go after destroyers, or if you specifically want to set some fires, like get floods ticking, fires ticking, or otherwise, like if you run low on your torps, then you sprinkle in some dive bombers. But using torps, then dives, torps, dives, torps, dive, that's not how you play a Kaga.
This is the initial engagement, spots the Farragut, spots the Atago, and what the player does is immediately turns away and runs. And I expected them to turn around and drop once on the Farragut. You might as well. You're right there. You've got a destroyer. The team's not able to do anything with their spotting anyways. Instead, you go to B. Okay, fine, whatever. You go around B. I'm pausing it here because this part right here, I'm watching the minimap. There's a carrier plane squadron following you. Pop a plane. Put the fighters down. If you put the fighters down, right, that either those planes will go right into that field and chomp, chomp, chomp. There goes those rockets from the Lexington. Or if the Lexington player is paying attention early enough, they'll have to dodge that circle. That wastes their time. So this is the perfect opportunity to put a plane down. Also, that plane will spot whatever's heading north of B.
Yeah.
Will spot the cruisers and stuff. This is a brilliant opportunity you missed.
That's the problem here. Like, you got 8 initial spottings, you know where the team is, but you spotted nothing long enough for your team to even get a shot. Like that middle group, I'm not sure if the Lion would have actually, or Leon would have actually had the range to shoot anything. But because they were spotted so short, he didn't even have a chance to get his guns on target and try.
Well, Massachusetts even as well, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
you're right. So if you're gonna scout, fine, but you need to provide continuous spotting for people. You can't just spot and then leave and then expect your team to know what to do with that information. So the plane here would have been very helpful. As Cthulhu says, this person's probably frustrated, probably doing the right thing to seek help and advice. And as he says, we don't belittle him. Absolutely, we're not poking fun, or we're trying to help this player improve. So we're showcasing things to consider. So that is one right there. Now, puts the plane down, but in the wrong spot. You can see the Lexington player just went straight ahead, didn't even matter. And the planes provide some spotting there, but not too much. Now here,
Yeah, it's like a good defensive placement for fighters if you want to protect your own destroyer while he's capping, but you don't have a destroyer in the B cap that is capping, so...
Right, what's missing is a destroyer directly under that circle, or maybe just a little behind the circle, if you will.
It would be good if you had a destroyer there, but you don't.
One thing that confuses me, though, is then you started moving north, and you had the perfect opportunity here to go in to see, spot the enemy destroyer. Okay? Or hey, if you can't, then maybe you drop on the Andrea Doria or something. But you made a fishhook and went straight to B instead. Look, and you went and dropped on the Lennon right as a Dallas appeared. Oops. Now also take a look at the carrier position. Your carrier is south of BC. You are playing BC. So why are you taking your torpedo bombs all the way to A? There's the Kagero. Had you continued into C, you would have spotted the Kagero for your Ognivoy, and the Warspite, everybody else. You could have dropped on the Kagero, done some damage. It would have been really good information for your team. It could have very well prevented your team from losing at CCAP. So this is the part where you went and dropped on the Atago of all people. And if you notice, most of these people understand your threat because you're targeting them when they don't have to worry about anybody else. So your approach basically gets negated. They just turn and they don't care. Here come your torp bombers. And that was a good drop on the Lenin, although you're still dropping too late or starting your drop too late. But the Lenin is who I'd be focusing on right now. Get him off the board. Okay, cool. Now that he's done, go hammer the Andrea Doria. Instead, you put a plane up over your Vladivostok and then torpedoed the Bismarck. Again, Bismarck is able to turn. Part of that is he's going to turn already anyways to negate the battleship shells that are coming in. So that turn doesn't, that the torpedo drop doesn't matter. It doesn't prevent the Bismarck from turning. Here we got the Doria coming. Look at how you're dropping your torpedo bombers on that Doria straight from in front. No, you're going to realize that that's not a good idea and you're going to turn. But you're turning the wrong way. You should turn to the right. You should approach the Andrea Doria from his port side. Instead, you're going to turn left and approach the Andrea Doria from the starboard side. If you look at it, all the fire that's currently incoming on the Doria is from the front and from the starboard side. So you dropping torpedoes from the exact same spot, angle of those incoming fires, it doesn't do anything. The Andrea Doria can just turn and he doesn't care. And your torps missed anyway, it looked like. Now you got your next wave of torp bombers. Another good opportunity to drop a plane, by the way, and negate the Lexington's bombers. If you didn't want to do it there, here would have been another good spot to do it. In front of where the Ognivoy is going. Let him know he's got cover. There goes the Ochakov. Now, just go farm the Amagi. You waste a lot of time here trying to search for, and this is the second time you've done this, search for the Farragut and search for the Atago.
I just noticed something different that I didn't mention while the game was going. You don't want to have your carrier parked in a spot where it's facing away.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're losing like additional 5 to 10 seconds just because of the directions the plane take off.
Yep. It was a smart idea when C was being lost, but as soon as C wasn't lost anymore, and especially since when your team started moving up, it would have been a good idea to. That's when you move your autopilot. Yes. Yes.
Oh yeah, it's in chat. I see.
Jill Tannett did mention it earlier. That's correct.